Hi, everybody. It's Mindy Miller here. And once again, we have a fabulous guest for you tonight. We are at the Downey Theater on Firestone Boulevard, and we had the most incredible night last night. But tonight is even better. It's called Double Trouble, but it should be called Triple Trouble, which I think is better because we have somebody here that is new. He's up and coming, although he's been in the business for a while. And I want to introduce you to him. This is Taylor Rodriguez, and I want to ask him some questions because he might he might be new to you, and you know, there's so much I want to ask you that I don't know. I saw your show for the first time in Las Vegas in July at Elvis Fest, and I was so taken aback because, as I said to a couple of the other ETAs that I have met, I hadn't seen any ETAs, and I'd only come out 2 years ago, so I was very, very reticent because I thought, oh, ETAs, you know, I didn't even know what an ETA was. Somebody had to tell me.
Estimated time of arrival.
Right. Estimated time of arrival. So I thought, gee, an Elvis tribute artist, and I liked that better than impersonator.
Right.
I totally agree with everybody who ever made that up. So I would like to find out, because you're, what, 20?
I'm actually 19. I'll be 20 in December.
You're 19. Oh, my gosh. When and how did you come to love Elvis Presley?
So when I was about 6 years old, my aunt, I spent a lot of time with my aunt when my parents were working, and we always listened to Sirius XM radio, Elvis radio.
Yeah.
And I remember asking her one day, I was like, aunt, her name was Diane, and I called her Di. It was like my nickname for her. And I said, Di, what song is that? And then she said, it's Blue Suede Shoes. And she told me a little bit about Elvis and how she had saw him in concert in Roanoke. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like, you know, I wanted to find out more about him. So I went on YouTube. I kept looking up videos of Elvis, and I found all this footage, and I was like, man, this guy is awesome. You know, and his music just like, it spoke to you. Yeah. And it was his early years, it was rock and roll, you know, and it was right there at it, and it moved you. Yeah. You couldn't stop tapping your foot or shaking your leg, it was just, I was like, man, this is awesome music, because it was nothing like today's music, you know.
No.
Not at all. No. Not at all. And then, you know, I listened to a lot of his 60s and then the 70s, and it just got even more powerful. You know, How Great Thou Art is one of my favorite songs. Completely. Yeah, and it is, and I was just taken by him because his stage presence, you know, on stage was just amazing. He pulled you in, even though you were in, you know, watching him from a video. Right. You were just like pulled into it, and you
felt his energy, didn't you?
Yeah, and his charisma on stage was just amazing. Yeah. So and that's just how I come to love Elvis. It was just through her.
You know, it's amazing that you say that, because I've talked to a lot of people, and I've said to people, you know, people ask me, what was he like in person? And I said, even more so, because in person, he could enter a room, right, and you wouldn't be looking at him, you wouldn't even know he entered, but you would feel his presence before he came in the room. That's how strong his energy field was, sincerely. So it always amazes me with people that are young like yourself that feel that through a TV screen, or a movie screen, or a DVD. That's how strong it was for you. And what interests me is, when did you decide that you wanted to emulate this man that you absolutely loved?
Right. So when I was about, I believe, 9 years old, and I had practiced a couple of years, and, you know, my voice was changing and everything else, and I was really, really high, and then, you know, but for Halloween, I wanted to be Elvis.
Okay.
And my parents had a costume made for me, and I performed at my parents' restaurant, and all these people were like, oh, that's so cool, you know, and then I think a lady come up to me and said, hey, my mom is turning 80 or something like that. Oh. Can you come do the show, or like a little show? And I was like, I'd be honored to, you know? Yeah. So I did that show, and then my other aunt was turning 50, and I started there too, and then it just kind of branched out. Mm-hmm. But I had saw Joseph Hall when I was about, I think, 6 or 7 years old in Myrtle Beach at Legends in Concert. Yeah. And he pulled you in too, because he had that energy, you know, that Elvis did. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do right there. That's what I want
So
to do.
you really knew at a very young age that you wanted to be a singer and that you wanted to be an ETA of Elvis Presley.
Right.
That is amazing to me. And like, how many years? Because I don't think that people realize, and I said this to Dwight earlier. I said, the thing that interests me so much is that I've had a lot of feedback from people, even today, when I posted a lot of things. And some people come back and they say, well, I don't like the ETAs. They're trying to be Elvis. And I've said, some are, some aren't.
Right.
Just like you have good singers, you have bad singers, you have better performers, you have people that are not great performers in anything in show business. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Dwight, because I think it's so important, and I think that you guys need to get your due. I think you need a voice, and most of the public only gets to see you on stage.
Right.
So they don't get to speak with you personally. They don't know how you feel, how you think, and I would like to be able to do that on my YouTube show and put it on my pages and have people get familiar with you guys, because you are so talented. Tell us what it takes. Tell the audience what it takes to prepare for these shows and what you have to go through in the study and everything.
Right. So, going back to what you said about how people, kind of, some don't know whether to take, oh, I don't like you, or, what I'm saying, when, right, they prejudge. We're not, as ETAs, and I think I speak for all of us, or most of us, that we never try to be Elvis. We always try to put our own unique style and twist into it.
Right. And
what I do this for is because I want the next generation to pick up on it. I don't want Elvis's music just to kind of dissolve away.
See, that's the same way I feel. And I'm feeling like your generation is the up-and-coming generation, and then the kids literally that are 7 and 8 are going to be under your generation. So if we don't get it right, we're not doing something right.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I think it does not matter if in my opinion, it doesn't matter if you can't sing. It doesn't matter if if you have some disability to come up on stage or whatever it is. I think that I will applaud you anyway. I think a lot of the guys will too. Yeah. Will applaud you either way, just for getting on that stage. I mean, you have the courage and you have the strength to get up on that stage and sing.
That's hard.
And it is.
It
is. I mean, you're in front of hundreds, thousands of people, and it takes a lot.
Critique and criticism.
Yeah. And I think that anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. I've had, I remember a little 5-year-old boy come up to me. He was actually 4 at the time, and he came up to me and he shook my hand, and he was like awestruck and everything. And I told him, I said, follow your dreams and do what you love. If you love singing, follow it. I mean, you just push through those barriers that people are going to put up walls in the future ahead of you, and you just have to keep going. You can't give up. You can't give up at all.
What about the ETAs that really, let's be honest, are not that good, and they're not doing the service to Elvis? I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because it's it's trying to think of the right words to say. It's
you try to put it gently, that nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings, but let's be honest, not everybody can be Celine Dion or Barbra Streisand or Elvis Presley.
Well, there'll never be another Elvis. Never.
Exactly right.
There's Dwight, there's Cody Ray Slaughter, there's Taylor Rodriguez, there's Dean Z, other a lot of other artists that have kind of put their own twist into it, and yes, it is Elvis's music, but we just want to pay tribute to him, because he is just one of the greatest entertainers of all time. And he's changed the music industry forever. And continues to change it. I mean, his albums keep selling, and he's just I think he was a phenomenal person, and I think that firsthand. And I really wish that I could have met him. I just I would have give anything to meet him.
So it's amazing how many people that I've met. I always think everybody must have met him. I mean, that's really how I think. I think everybody must have met him. Right. And then I think, well, wait a minute, this person is this age, and this person is this age, and this person is this age. I'm like, you never met him. And then they'll say, no, and we never saw him in concert. I'm like, how could you not see Elvis Presley in concert? I mean, it's unfathomable to me. And this is why seeing you at your age and what you do on stage, and you're such a handsome young guy, and you've got such an incredible future. Tell the audience where you will be appearing next, and what are your hopes for your future by doing what you're doing?
I think we're going to be at the Ocean City Festival this coming week. I've been having a busy week, busy month.
That's good, though.
Yeah, it is good. But I'll be in Ocean City, Maryland, doing the Elvis Festival there, headlining. It'll be my first headlining position there.
Oh, yay. So this will be your first time.
Yeah, it will, yeah.
And do you have someone opening for you then?
I believe Dean Z will be there, Diego Light, myself, and there's someone else, and I'm forgetting that someone else.
We're sorry, person who we're forgetting, but you'll be there.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a good time there, and then we're gonna also have I'm doing a Elvis Festival cruise coming up in January.
Which cruise is that going to be? Do you
It's the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas.
Okay, so the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas, for everybody that wants to go on a fabulous Elvis cruise. When will that be?
That'll be in January. I believe it's the 14th through like the 21st or something like that. 2018.
Okay.
You can go on my website and look at it.
And where will you actually cruise to? Do you know?
Well, we were supposed to sail to Puerto Rico, Haiti.
Well,
and
that's out, everybody. Unless you're all going to get off the boat and dig and help everybody with that life. Gosh.
We're praying for them too. I mean,
we are.
But we might be diverted. We're not sure yet because we haven't heard anything yet. But
you're still going to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. And then there's like a little pre-show right before at the hotel that we're all staying at, and then we're going on the cruise together.
Right.
And we have a lot more announcements that we can't announce just yet. Yet. But yeah, I mean, come out and see us, and if you can't see me, come see one of these guys, Dwight or Cody or whoever. I mean, because that is how I believe Elvis's legacy continues. It's through them.
What amazes me and what I was not prepared for is the camaraderie between all you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I was not prepared for that. I really thought there would be picky and jealousies and things like that, almost like you would think in beauty pageants with women or something. And yet the camaraderie, it's so loving and all that. But let me ask you a question. Personally, and you don't mention names, but do you find in what you do that some of the ETAs are copying other ETAs as opposed to studying Elvis himself and trying to get the moves down to present the best Elvis show that you can for his fans and for the people that love you? Do you find that to be true?
Oh, most definitely. I see it in a lot of different performances through many artists, and I think they look up to someone as a role model. Of saying, that's who I want to be, but what it comes down to is what you're trying to emulate on stage is Elvis. You're not trying to emulate different one of these artists or So I would say to go and study Elvis and watch him. He was very. A lot of guys I've noticed have choreographed moves. Do you
think they're too choreographed?
I think so, in my opinion. There are many that I know with my performance, what I do is it's spontaneous, and Elvis was really spontaneous. You never knew what he was going to do next.
Yeah, he'd lay down and cross his legs, and then lay down on the stage like this, and he would do the wildest things on stage. So. That was Elvis, telling wild jokes and saying certain things. I mean, no show was the same. I mean, some of the music he would change out from certain shows, and he'd have a list and say, well, I want to do this one, or I want to do that one first, or let's do, CC Ryder. I mean, he did a lot of CC Ryder on his openings. But the thing that I was wondering with you guys is that if you found that to be true, and do you say anything to each other, or just kind of let it slide?
I mean, we all try to be nice, to one another, and I think that we just kind of, we just kind of let it be. It's if that's what they want to do, they do that. But I know personally, I try to not do that. Look at another artist, and I may take some inspiration from different artists. I know I looked up to Cody a lot as well.
Okay. You guys could be brothers.
That's what someone said. When I
first saw you, the first thing I said is, that looks like Cody's younger brother. I said, you guys look so much alike. That was crazy.
I mean,
he's young too. He's only, what, 25, 26?
26, yeah.
You're 19.
19, yeah. But I think that it all comes down to you need to go back and look at Elvis, and he was never. I mean, just take for example when he was in Vegas and he had sold out shows every night. You would imagine he would not do the same thing every night because he'd get tired of it. It's just like in the theatrical world, because I do theater as well.
Okay. You do singing theater or acting?
Musicals.
You do musical.
Yeah.
I would love to come and hear you that, because I love musicals.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell our audience, like, if you're appearing somewhere, you'll have to let me know.
Yeah, most definitely. At the moment, I think we're doing a Buddy Holly in my hometown, and I'll be Richie Valens.
Oh, may I ask where you're from, or is that too personal?
No,
Okay.
Lynchburg, Virginia.
Oh, you're in Lynchburg, Virginia. I love it. Are you anywhere near the Smokies?
I'm about 5 hours from there. Yeah, the Smoky Mountains. Oh yeah. But yeah, and theatrical performances, a lot of times they'll change up something because they don't want everything to be exactly the same.
Right.
So.
Now, here's another thing I want to ask you.
Okay.
Two things. Is there any question that you've never been asked about doing Elvis as an ETA that you would like to be asked? Because I'm sure, and even this happens with me, people ask the same questions over and over and over again, and you're hoping that somebody as an interview will do some homework, or they'll ask you something completely random that you're maybe even not prepared for, but that's an interesting question for you to think about. Can you think of any question like that?
Ooh.
I caught you off guard.
See, I've never been asked that question before, so that's one of them. If you could critique one thing, what would it be? I think.
Okay, so if you could critique one thing about
the performance that I had just gave, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think there's always room for improvement.
Right.
Always.
Do you come off stage and think, I'm glad it's over, I had a great time, or that was a horrible set, or gee, that gig wasn't great? Do you ever come off and think about that as an entertainer?
Well, I kind of. I do that sometimes. I'll critique myself and I'll be like, that wasn't the best performance I give. I could have done better than that. Or when tonight I came off stage and I was just like, so I was like, okay, maybe I did something right, because I was coming off stage out of breath. But I think there's always room for improvement, and that's something that I'd probably like to get from someone. You could say, oh, you did a good job or whatever, and then I would ask them. I would ask them, what was one thing that you would critique?
Now, see, I have to tell you, this is so interesting that you just said that, because one of the things that Elvis would do when he came off stage almost every single time after he'd get into the limo, all the guys like Joe Esposito and everybody would say, great show, boss, great show. And he'd say, was it good? Was it okay? Elvis Presley was insecure.
Right.
He would come off stage, and I'm going, this is Elvis Presley.
Right.
That he would even ask, how was it? Hey guys, how was it?
Yeah. That's what I do all the time with my manager. I ask her, I'm like, is there something that you would have changed? What could I have done different? Because that's what we're trying to do. We want to give the best delivery of Elvis as possible. Right. And not only Elvis, you want to show some of your side as well. Right. And I think that's what kind of it differs from each tribute artist. Right. Is we also have our unique style that we throw into it as well.
I think we're going to wrap up a little bit here, because I think we're almost out of time, but I want you to tell everybody, where can they find you? Do you have a Facebook page? Are you tweeting? What are you doing? Where can we find you?
Well, you can look me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I have a Facebook page that I ran out of friends, so I can't.
You do a second page?
I do. I have a like page, and you can keep up to date. You can follow me on my website, which is www.taylorrodriguezelvis.com.
www.taylorrodriguez.com, everybody. I want to thank you so much for giving us your time. I think you are so genuine and so authentic, and I am just wishing you all the luck, not that you're going to need luck, but all the joy in what you do, and you're already successful. So thank you so much for giving of your time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're over and out. Taylor Rodriguez, God bless.